Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here are your hosts, Erin Summers and Todd Graffagnini.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Erin Summers, Todd Graffagnini. Day 3 of training camp in the books. Friday's practice went very smoothly. Head coach Kellen Moore said it was the most well executed that he's seen the team so far. Quarterback Jake Haener did take first team reps, so he did get some time out there in that scenario, although there were some vets that did take the day off. So there was no Cam Jordan, Brandon Cooks, Devon Godshaw, Mario Davis, and Eric McCoy did not play. So the center was then Will Clapp. Graf, what did you see from Haener?
He got the opportunity. I thought he performed well, and Kellen Moore was right. Today was the most clean that the operation has been on the offensive side. And we've talked about this a lot, Aaron, and when training camp starts, it's pretty evident that the defense is usually ahead of the offense. So it takes a couple days, maybe more than that, for the offense to really get clicking. So in that essence, I think that the offense might be a little bit ahead of schedule if Kellen Moore said that they were that clean today. But, you know, we talked about it in yesterday's podcast that Haener was going to get his opportunity, and he certainly did that today. But as we also talked about in yesterday's podcast, which was Thursday, that even though you might have Haener working with the ones and Rattler with the twos and Shuck with the threes, or whoever is taking reps with whatever unit, they're going to mix and match the wide receivers. For example, you know, Tyler Shuck ran with the threes today, but he threw a touchdown pass to Juwan Johnson, who you would consider a TE1. So the quarterbacks are still going to get opportunities to throw with what you would call the major weapons of this team. But it was good to see Haener make the most of his opportunity. Everything was pretty much clean. We didn't see any pre-snap penalties with him. There were no turnovers, so good stuff.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see those players, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, playing with the various quarterbacks, because I think Kellen Moore wants to make sure that you're not just getting used to one quarterback, especially when they're all rotating. You want to continue to develop that chemistry regardless of who's taking reps with the ones, the twos, or the threes day in and day out. So I think that that's important. Evident
as what Juwan Johnson just talked about with the media, Aaron, and I know you were there, we kind of raised our eyebrows that, you know, he's just out there making plays, and he told us that sometimes he doesn't even know who's the quarterback other than the lefty. But the other three guys, he's seeing the ball and catching the ball, and when you're not even realizing who's out there throwing it to you, that means they're doing a good job because he's not taking notice. But that also tells you that all three of those quarterbacks are using him as a target.
And getting it in the same spot,
Correct.
Delivering the ball the same way that he likes. So that is good to hear as well. One player that stood out to both of us today was Mason Tipton, and he was somebody that was a camp favorite early on last season. He showed that speed that we saw from Rashid Shaheed. A little bit smaller body type, but this year, again, popping early in camp.
Early. Now, again, we saw this last year in California. Everybody who's ever covered training camp on a day-to-day basis knows the deal. You know, you're couple practices in and someone steps up as a camp favorite to all who observes. And last year, without a question, the first week of camp, it was Mason Tipton who repeatedly got deep and caught a multitude of long passes from whoever was throwing the to them on the practice field in Irvine. And all of a sudden, he just went away. He got hurt. And we really never heard from him again the rest of the season. I know he got a couple of games in his NFL career, but we never saw him the rest of the preseason. Didn't play any preseason games. So from a big splash to start things off, that was pretty much it. You hope that what he learned from last year, because he's got the ability, he's got the speed. Is he big in stature? No, but he can get open and he can make plays. So hopefully he took those experiences last year and will translate them to this training camp and hopefully a productive preseason and going into the regular season. But, I mean, today looked like what we saw in California last year. Let's hope it just keeps going.
Absolutely. And Coach Moore was asked about him a lot after practice because of him really standing out today. Here's what Coach Moore had to say about the wide receiver.
Yeah, he's an excellent player. I love his work ethic. I love the detail that he plays with. He's done an excellent job out there today. You know, he certainly had a couple opportunities to take advantage of it. So you know, he's been really, really reliable. I think he's certainly got juice. He's got the ability to separate from guys. Again, he's a really smart player, which I think is really, really important when you start moving guys around and all that sort of stuff. His ability to understand all those different pieces is really critical. So he's done a really good job, and he'll compete just like all of them.
So far, the weather has been good.
Yeah.
We've been outside every day. We're not too hot the first 2 days. A little warmer today, but we saw a little rain shower in the middle of practice. Nothing crazy. It cooled things off a little.
It was curious, Erin, because right when the special teams portion of practice happened and poor Blake Grupe was getting ready to kick his 5 field goals, it starts raining. And there was a pretty stiff breeze from right to left at the Ochsner Sports Performance Center, which is coming out of the south at about 10:15. And Grupe not only had to kick through the rain, he had to kick with that crosswind from his right to left. Now, he went 4 for 5. He missed the last kick, which was about 48, 49 yards, but that was his only miss in this first 10 attempts during camp. But it's just curious because it started raining as soon as he kicked, and as soon as that last kick went wide left, it stopped raining, and it didn't rain the rest of practice. But, you know, it was good. I mean, they're on natural grass out there, so you never know. You know, obviously we're playing in the Dome for 8 games, but those outdoor games, you never know. You playing in Tampa, you're going to get a rain shower sometimes, and you can't really simulate those things when you're in a practice situation. And Kellen Moore mentioned, say, look, there wasn't any lightning or anything. It wasn't a deluge. We're gonna just go through this, and that's what they did. So it's experience that you really don't get to see a lot during training camp.
Yeah, good opportunity for Blake
And you're
Grupe.
not going to see it in California.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't rain there, but to get those wet ball drill type reps and stuff is always good, especially when you're not necessarily anticipating it, because rain didn't look like it was on the forecast for this morning, at least.
And you had a couple of reps during team play when Rashid Shaheed slipped a couple times on the wet grass. So that tells you.
But he still made the catch.
Correct. But then you go as an equipment, someone who's doing the cleat stuff. All right, well, maybe we need bigger cleats next time if the weather is a little bit inclement. I like the fact that they played through it and didn't stop practice and go in the indoor. They kept going, and it all worked out.
Yeah, speaking of Rashid, after practice, he talked about how he spent a lot of the offseason trying to put on some more weight, but of course, wants to maintain his signature speed. And he says that he was able to do that, but he got injured a couple times in his first few years here. So he's trying to build his body up, get a little stronger, and then be able to withstand some contact a little better.
Well, it's good on him. And look, he's just such a weapon, Aaron. I mean, when he is out there, defenses have to prepare. They have to be ready for his deep ball. But he's, you go back to last year and the year before, he's not afraid to go inside and make tough catches. But when you go inside and make tough catches, you're going to be contacted heavily. And that's the thing that putting on a little weight, that's what's going to help to try to prevent those injuries that unfortunately he's suffered because of his stature, but there's no doubt about his playmaking ability.
Yeah, and Coach Moore is going to use him in a variety of ways, not just as that deep ball player. So he doesn't want to be a one-trick pony, and Rashid said he's really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. For today's podcast, we have a special guest in defensive line coach Bo Davis. Caught up with him after practice, found out about why he was so excited about being with the Saints and what he likes to do in his free time. And believe me, he is very passionate about it because he did not stop talking to me about it for about 20 minutes after I was done recording. So you don't want to miss this. Coach, thanks for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. A couple days now behind you of training camp. Not your first rodeo at an NFL camp, but how's it been being here with the Saints?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been great. The guys been working hard. Great staff. Coach Keller does a great job having everything organized and everything flows smoothly. It's been just awesome.
That is something that the players have brought up, the efficiency, the detail that they've seen from Coach Moore. You've been around a lot of elite coaches, Les Miles, Mac Brown, Nick Saban at the collegiate level. How would you compare where Moore falls as far as his scheduling, what he does, his intelligence, and just how he manages things?
Top notch. I mean, he's up there with those guys, just from the complete head to toe, having everything detailed out. I mean, he does a phenomenal job.
Somebody that's from this area, Mississippi, then played at LSU, back in New Orleans here with the Saints. Were the Saints somebody that you always watched growing up?
Yeah, I watched the Saints a lot as growing up as a kid. I mean, that was one of the things that was the closest NFL team to Mississippi. So, you had a lot of Saints fans, and so we watched a lot of Saints football as a kid growing up. So, who knew that I would ever be coaching here at the Saints?
Yeah, did you ever think that this was a possibility, or was this something that you had on your bucket list?
No, not in a million years. And I guess that they always say, things that you don't really think about always kind of falls in your play. And this is one of them that kind of fell in my play. Most of the time when you talk about going to work in the NFL, nobody really talks about working, down south. Everything is pretty much up north in northern states. And so, I never thought I'd have an opportunity to work down south at the Saints, and this has been one of the most amazing things for me.
How did the opportunity come up, and what was your reaction?
Oh, I mean, it was just, kind of, I guess I could say like one of those surprise things, and I mean, it was unbelievable, and I was very excited about it, and, having an opportunity to get back to the NFL was something that I wanted to do, and I got the chance to come here, and it was like a dream come true.
How have you grown since your first stints? I mean, you were 5 years in the NFL prior.
A lot. I think, from being around a lot of older veteran players, my first stint in the NFL, and just kind of growing and understanding how the game works and, what they do and how it works and things like that. I think as a coach, and I always go back to this and I tell younger players when I was in college, my experience of being around a lot of great players when I was at the Miami Dolphins really helped me as a coach understand, how to coach guys, how to, everybody's different. You can't coach everybody the same, and just have an understanding of a player and coaching each individual player as needed.
You come in with a new defensive coordinator in Brandon Staley, so the defense looks a lot different to us who have been watching the Saints here for a while, working with and under Dennis Allen. For a defensive line, what is their primary role in this defense?
I mean, be disruptive, and have fun and enjoy, striking blocks and being disruptive up front. I mean, it's no different. It's just the style of play. And, it's just, like I always tell people all the time, I mean, you gotta love what you do. And I think, the group of guys we have here now and the way Coach Staley has the defense set, I mean, everybody's having fun and everybody has a chance to eat.
Right now, without any pads on, haven't had them on, all OTAs, how do you evaluate what the players are doing?
I mean, you can see guys striking blocks, play with their hands, eye control. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I know everybody's like, hey, you got pads on, this and that. But, I mean, when guys can strike with their hands and come out of their hips and play with good eye control and disengage off of blocks, I mean, you can see what they can do without having pads on.
Cam Jordan was talking yesterday, though, about how he cannot wait to get the pads on and go up against some of these offensive linemen. He definitely still has that fire in him. But what does he bring as just that vet to the line?
Oh, a lot of experience, a lot of energy, and that's the one thing, having a guy like that on the team and around the younger guys. And, the way he is and the energy that he brings is just unbelievable, and it feeds into the younger players and it gets them going as well.
What changes Monday when the pads come on?
It's time to go to work as always. Nothing really changed. We're just going to go out there and get going again at it, So, like I always say, the pads are fun to get on and everybody's pumped up about when you put pads on. But, I mean, you still got to play with good fundamentals. You still got to strike. You still got to play with your feet and your hands and have good eye control and get off of blocks and be disruptive in there. But now you can legitimately actually cut loose now and strike a guy and don't worry about like you hurting someone or anything like that.
When you change from a 4-3 to a 3-4, obviously there's less opportunity for the linemen up front. how do you talk to the players about the rotations and making sure that everybody's getting their opportunity?
Well, I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, it's you play multiple players. It's like, I know everybody says, we're running this defense, we're running this defense. I mean, Coach Saley does a good job with the balancing of the defense, and I think it's like any other defense I've been in, it's like when you know how to construct it, which he does a phenomenal job doing. He knows the players. He knows who we got to play, who we got to get in the game. So he structures that to fit the players that we have. So everybody gets what the reps that they need. So you get a chance to watch everybody.
I got to ask you about a former LSU player who you didn't play with, coach with, but Tyrann Mathieu retiring this week. What did he mean as a former LSU player yourself?
Oh, man, it's unbelievable, the history that he had there at LSU, the things he did here in Louisiana for the Saints. I mean, it was just, unbelievable. He's, a great guy. I knew of him from being from LSU, and what he did to represent his state and who he is. I mean, he left a legacy behind.
Okay, when you made the draft call to Vernon Broughton and you called him chicken legs,
yeah.
Why was that?
Oh, that's just a little in-house joke we had with each other, back when I coached him, because he's always had those little small ankles, and so we used to joke around saying, hey, chicken legs, so that was just a little in-house joke. And he laughed about it, it's kind of like something I used to call him all the time. Come on, chicken legs, let's go. We got to get going today.
Does he still have those chicken legs?
He still got those chicken legs, man. He still has them.
What do you like about what he brings?
Oh, man, just, the ruggedness that he has, his mindset, the way he comes off the ball, his explosion, physical play that he plays with. And, that's the thing I like about him. He's got good pass rush ability about him, and I like those things about him, those intangibles that he has.
The prior regime had a prototype for their linemen. They wanted them tall, long, lengthy. What do you like?
Man, we all like tall, long, and lengthy. I mean, for me, that's what you're looking for in guys that can play interior D-line. And like I said, I think the group that we have here is fit our mold of what we're looking for, and the guys that we have, I mean, they're the guys that I'm used to coaching. And so I think the guys that we have here are the NFL prototype guys that you look for on any team to play with.
You been in the Superdome before?
Yes.
For a game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A couple?
Well, yeah, we played in there. I mean, playing in college and then, coming to a game and been around that environment, it's a very exciting environment. The one thing I'll say is just like, even being at LSU, and I know the same thing about the Saints, because most of the fans that are LSU fans, they're Saints fans, and you see the way they act towards LSU and the way the stadium is and the eruption in the stadium. It's the same way it's going to be in the Superdome, because the fans love their Saints.
They definitely do.
Yeah, and and it's something that they put a lot of value into it, and I've known a lot of people that were big Saints fan, tailgating, getting ready for the game, and they wanted to see the Saints do well. And, this is basically you could say this is like a family team, for New Orleans. Everybody here loves the Saints, and, and it's just being in this atmosphere and just being around here is unbelievable with the people and the way they are and just the generosity that they have here. I think that's just a, tribute to New Orleans, Louisiana, and the culture that they have here.
Do you feel that in the locker room here and with this team, even though there are a lot of new faces on the coaching staff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, you come here and the next thing you know, man, it's like you're a Louisianian now, I always say, I mean, I came from Mississippi and came to Louisiana, and this is like home to me. People, it's like, hey, where you from? It's like, oh, I spent a long time in Louisiana, so I kind of claim Louisiana, Mississippi, but it's just the people here that makes this place what it is, and I think this is a phenomenal organization from head to toe, and I'm glad I had an opportunity to come in here and try to help them build something special here.
outside of football, I know we're in it now for a while. I mean, we're not going to be seeing a day off probably until next summer, right? But when you do have time to yourself, I know you have a family, what do you like to do?
You asked me what I like to do. Oh, God. Well, no, I mean, honestly, I for one, I'm kind of like, I like cars and big trucks and stuff like that, and I kind of get away and go work on cars and trucks and stuff like that. I enjoy doing that. That's my like getaway, you know, like nothing matters. I go zone off into that and, you know, and just kind of do that, and just that's my relaxation. You know, everybody's like, that's work, you know. It's not to me. It's like I'm in heaven, you know, and it's kind of like I don't think about anything else. And I just believe, you know, when you do this for such a long stretch, you have to turn it off. You know, you can't just keep going ball, because eventually you burn out and it becomes stagnant to you. And I think for me getting away and going to do those things, and, you know, I like to fish. You know, I like to do things like that. I like watching drag racing and stuff like that. You know, I like playing with my kids, throwing footballs and things like that, and being with my family and stuff. But, you know, the biggest thing for me is like I try to get away to just take my mind away from that and just go live life. And then when it's time to come back, I'm refreshed, I'm rejuvenated, and now it's like, it's, you know, it's kind of like you just begun again. You know, everything is just like, okay, all right, I got a fresh start now, I'm ready to go. You know, that's kind of how it is for me, you know.
Okay, so when I have a car problem, I can come find you, be like, Coach Moore, like, he just needs a break right now. Can he come fix my car? Well,
I don't tell everybody that, you know. It's like, I kind of like, hey, you know, it's like everybody comes to me, it's like, you know, it's kind of like my family members is like, hey, can you look at my car? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with it? And I don't tell too many people that, because they start asking me, like, hey, can you look at my car? You know, it's like, but I do enjoy, that's kind of my, I guess, as growing up as a kid, you know, I had a little car that I had a Volkswagen that I had to work on to make it go all the time. And so that was one of the things that I learned to do, is like, all right, I got to fix my car so I can get my car to run. So yeah. I just kind of fell in love with doing it, and, you know, and it's like, I just really enjoy, that's just kind of my getaway. Just like fishing, you know, I go fishing, and it's like, it's just me in the water and the fish, and I love fishing, and I love getting out there to fish and stuff. So I mean, it's you know, like I said, it's a turn off from the ball and just getting away and clearing your mind. And I think that really like clears everything up in your mind. When it comes back, you got a clear mind of, you know, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you keep everything organized that way.
What is it about football that keeps you coming back, though, from young age player and a coach?
Just being, you know, I guess, and I always tell this all the time, you know, I say, you know, I tell my wife this, you know, once you're a competitor, there's not a switch. You can't turn it off, you know, and it's like you're born with it. And it's like there is no on and off switch, you know. It's like everything you competing to be the best that you can be at it. So I think that's always been my thing, and the challenge of it is trying to take men and help them become the best that they can be, and watch them blossom and be dominant at what they do. And I think that's been one of the things that I've always loved to do, is just like, that's been a challenge for me, is just to keep working with guys and watch them have success, and watching them grow, and watching them have fun, and you know, teaching them that having that competitive edge is more to it than just what you think. You know, you got a lot more in you that you can do. And I think for me, it's more like just the competitive part of it, just like, I don't want to lose. You know, that's just been like, I don't care what I'm doing, I don't care what it is. It's like, I have a competitive edge in me, like, I want to try to win at everything that I do.
Hey, I can get on board with that, because we don't want to lose around here either. I appreciate the time so much. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time too. Thank you.
That does it for Friday's practice and the first 3 days of training camp. First day off is Saturday. The players are loving this schedule. They say they have a lot of time to rehab and recover. It is built into their schedule during the day, and they're not practicing too long or too many days in a row. So day off Saturday, we'll be back Sunday. NFL Network is broadcasting live from the practice, and it's a Sunday, so I expect a lot of fans to come out as well. And then Monday, the pads come on. So we will cap the first week of practice on Sunday right here on NewOrleansSaints.com. The New Orleans Saints podcast brought to you by Rouse's Markets.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.